Astrology time, Shane here, daily-astrocat.com. And today is Tuesday. It is the 24th of March. 3 more days. 3 more days until what, Shane? Somebody's birthday. What do you know? Aries it is, right? Moon in Aries, Sun in Aries. So anyway, how about astrology for today, though? We've got our moon in Gemini all day long. However, it's actually going to go avoid a course at 5:37 p.m., and it's going to stay there for over just about 13 hours. So, void a course moon at night, not too big a deal, right? We like that. Going to have a chance to do some stuff, right? We've got some things going on here around the house that are going to be very much in the vein of that Jupiter-Mars thing, Mars-Jupiter. Remember, it's always the faster-moving planet before and then the slower-moving planet after. So, anytime you're naming an aspect, say like a sun conjunct moon, it's always sun conjunct moon. It's not moon conjunct sun, because that's not the order that they go in. The sun's considered, right there, and the moon is actually pretty much faster than all the other planets too. So the moon is, it's usually moon conjunct sun, moon conjunct whatever. Yeah, I can double check that, but it actually is. It's the moon conjunct sun. It's the faster moving planet and the slower moving planet. So anyway, now that you know that the aspects are always given that way, because that's the order, right? The order of the solar system. So it would be a Mars trine Jupiter that we're actually playing out. So with that being said, that's your little bit of astrological knowledge for today. Look, I would have rated on an old weekly scale, today to be the best day for love. Now, why is that? Well, we've got a moon trine Venus later on, right when the moon goes void, of course, at 5:37. But we also have moon square Mars. Now, moon square Mars is kind of interesting because sometimes, those things are bad. But with Mars being in Pisces and the moon being in Gemini, we're kind of just looking at it, and it's like, okay, well, it's a square. There's a little bit of a difficulty there, but it's a mutable square, right? So there's something that's going to be able to work out. And when we have Venus being the next aspect down the road, we're talking, we've got some good communication going. Okay, so that's where that comes from. Now, nice time for communication. Nice time for romance. Nice time. It's a good time to just slow down and get some communication. Do it right. We've got Mercury starting to move through Pisces very, very slowly at first, but then it'll pick up speed like crazy. And we have Mars just about towards the end of Pisces. It's getting there, right? We're going to have Mars in Aries pretty soon. And it's going to be, whoa, talk about intensity. We're going to be turning up the intensity to 11. Like back in the day. So so let's talk about this. Communications. Communications are Gemini's strong suit, and they're definitely highlighted today. And being sandwiched between where that Mars and Venus is, it's only natural for the communication to favor romance, right? Mars and Venus, famous romance, right? Romance. Now, for your information, the moon then stays void, of course, until tomorrow morning at 6:33. It's a little bit further knowledge. Today is oddly confident, and it really feels inspiring. And it's just going to have that feel to it, right? Because the key word is versatile. Right? So we told you about that versatility. Gemini is a very versatile sign. It's a mutable sign. So is Pisces. Pisces is a mutable sign. Mars and Pisces, mutable water energy, mutable air energy. What do we got going on? Well, we've got a bit of a fog, but that fog comes from an intuitive place, and that fog gives us some cover so we can actually improve communication skills, do the things that Gemini's good at. Now, why is Gemini not going off the rails like it normally does and just flitting about and quickly changing its mind and, maybe keying on one or two key things? The sign of the twins is a duality to everything, right? Well, that's because the sun is very close to Saturn. And Saturn slows things down and makes things possible, right? You may think it makes things impossible, but honestly, it's just giving you a task there for you to get over. So we need to get over ourselves and over whatever it is we're thinking and start communicating on a level that's going to be both productive and fruitful for the world in general and for our love lives as well. So the key word is versatile, and the color is butter. All right, so now we feel like we're getting somewhere, okay? Because before we wanted to take off, and we were taking off and not even realizing that Saturn's sitting there, right? All those accidents, everything is happening, right? That rush to everything to move forward. Well, to a certain point. Now, does that mean that Saturn is anti-movement? No, Saturn is very much for the movement, very much for the change. And as the ruler of Aquarius, co-ruler of Aquarius, that makes it even more important, right? Not only are we just trying to get beyond what we're at, but, Saturn's holding us back a little bit because you got to earn the right to get through the door, to pass the door, to get to the next level. Gatekeeper, right? The last known planet in the solar system. The planets were discovered after it. Where do you have to go to get them? Through Saturn, right? Janus and Saturn, the brothers in the Etruscan myths. Now, Sun in Aries is closing in on Saturn. Okay, we just talked about that. Okay, we got to remember to slow down and complete the tasks that we've begun and plan to overhaul our communications to a degree. This is a good time to think about our 5D project, what we're doing. What are our side hustles? What are we trying to accomplish? What is it that we need to accomplish that's got a higher timeline or serves a higher purpose than making money for a corporation? 3D versus 5D. 5D serves a higher purpose, serves ourselves, the inner divinity. 3D, that's other people's money, right? That's something that we do. We have to do it because that money gives us freedom. But now that we've separated the two, now we can see a completely different course for ourselves, for our lives outside of the 3D, outside of the work. So Saturn makes sure that we deliver on our 3D projects, however. And you can do that just as long as you're doing the work. But make sure you save some energy for that other stuff. This particular moon in Gemini benefits immensely from the applying conjunction between the Sun and Saturn. And that perfects tomorrow. Remember, perfect is when they're exact, right? So right now it's applying. They're coming together. They're getting closer. This slows the roll of that Gemini energy, that wanting to change and jump all over the place, and allows us to be able to tap into some of that versatility, mental agility, and help us better utilize our personal tech items. Need some help with that. All right, and keep things light and healthy tonight. The moon is sextile Chiron, so make sure you're getting your steps in, okay? Get those step counts up, especially if you're in an accountability program, say like for weight loss. Somebody might be on that. All right, so with that being said, our event is in 1721. Johann Sebastian Bach. He's got a birthday coming up, right? Very, very soon, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Dedicates his Brandenburg concertos to Christian Ludwig, the Margrave of Brandenburg-Schwedt. And that's why they're called the Brandenburg concertos, or concerti. Okay, so anyway, Johann Sebastian Bach, a famous Aries. And speaking of famous Aries, all of our births now are Aries people, right? This one is kind of surprising. I've never featured it before, and I very rarely do athletes, but this is for Peyton Manning. He was born in 1976, and he's 50 years old this year. He's a quarterback. He was with the Indianapolis Colts, and he won a Super Bowl back in 2006. So he's got, a whole bunch of good stats and stuff like that. 5 times NFL MVP, 14-time Pro Bowler. He played with both the Colts and the Broncos, and he's born in New Orleans, Louisiana. And his brother is Eli, and his father is Archie. And that is all I have for you. So thank you so much for joining me. Starting to show some a lot of appreciation, a lot of love everywhere, right? Podcast is taking off. We're doing some a little bit of advertising here and there. I'm spending a little bit of that 3D cash just to try to get the reach out there so that we can make this easier. Probably be some improvements coming down the line, and I'll let you know more about that as they happen. So let's recap, shall we? Today, the color is butter, and the keyword is versatile. Today is a 6. Happy astrocatting.